Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Welcome back to Andertons TV. We've got Per Nilsson in the house today. I thought, as it is officially the hottest day ever, I think, in the history of the UK, what we'd do is we'd invite a ginger-haired, pale-skinned Swedish guy over to fry him, basically.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming. Please let me know if you need the aircon up higher. But yeah, and thanks also to the guys at Strandberg for organising this, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But that was some beautiful playing. Is that stylistically? I mean, do you think that's what people kind of know you for, or do you think you're perhaps better known as maybe more of a metal guy?
I guess it depends on what kind of person you are. I think I'm known for different kinds of things. Metal heads know me for Scar Symmetry and my time in Meshuggah. And that might seem kind of remote from what I just played. But to me it isn't.
Well, that we should get into, and we will get into. Now, I had the good fortune to spend a little bit of time with you in Germany a year or two back at Guitar Summit. So I'd kind of, at that time, I'd kind of done a little bit of research about, you know, your playing career. And at the time, I did think, interesting guy here, because, you know, your sort of fame, if you like, has come from some of the heaviest metal that you can listen to. And yet your passion seems to be for a much more varied sort of selection of music. So,
yeah.
So you know, it's great fun when I get to interview people who are much the same age as I am, because we can talk about all the cool music our dads were listening to in the 70s and what we got into in the 80s and all that kind of stuff. But what was the record collection like in the Nilsson household in the 1970s? And, you know, do you remember going through and seeing what your dad had?
Yeah, for sure. So I had my parents' record collection, which included a lot of the Beatles albums, and my first band played a lot of Beatles songs when I was 12. But at the same time, my older brother, who is 3 years older than me, his collection was more stocked with the contemporary metal and hard rock albums at the time. So it was kind of a mix of the things that my parents listened to and my brother's collection, which featured like Accept,
okay,
Iron Maiden, Dio, Black Sabbath.
Sabbath, yeah.
Yeah, like really like the expected stuff from that time.
Do you have any? Did your dad have any? I remember mine had. He had all the Led Zeppelin albums, which I thought was super cool. Some free stuff. Less Beatles stuff. My dad. I think he was more of a sort of a jazzer and a rocker. But it is it's a great education in music, isn't it? When you're sort of pulling out all these epic albums.
And my dad, he used to have a band at the time, or they started. Around the time when I started playing the guitars, they started rehearsing in our basement, and they played a lot of 50s and 60s music.
Yeah.
So as soon as I could grab a few chords, I went down and jammed with them. I turned up the amp just so little, they couldn't hear me, but I was, jamming along, and eventually I could just turn up a little bit more and a little bit more.
So guitar was that's what you started on, was it? You didn't have other instruments that you learned?
I started on the recorder.
Yeah, like we all do at school.
I suppose for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember why, but I got interested in the violins. They signed me up for lessons, and I played for a bit, but then my dad taught me a few chords on the guitar, and that just quickly changed the interest, because that all came at the same time when I left like listening to kids' music and starting browsing through all these record collections. So and guitar like became the main focus. I wanted to start playing guitar, so I did that sort of without telling my parents. Well, like my dad taught me a few chords, and I stopped practicing the violin and secretly played guitar. And then after a while, like they asked me, "You don't play your violin anymore?" And I had to come clean. Yeah. That was not exactly what happened, but I was lucky because the violin teacher, he was also the guitar teacher at the local school. Cool. So I could just show up with a different instrument the next week. So.
That's cool. So let's do the timeline here. You'd have turned 10, sort of kind of as I suppose
84.
Big Guns and Roses, maybe just as that sort of the hair metal scene is getting big, right? So playing. So I guess Van Halen's on the scene already. There's a few guys playing fast, but it kind of really, that sort of early to mid 80s is where it sort of turns up a notch. Mm-hmm. So can you remember seeing some of those early virtuoso guitar players and just going like, wow, I think, that's a style that I'd like to get into?
Yeah, because Yngwie Malmsteen.
Of course!
I always struggle to say his name, because in Sweden it would be Yngve.
Okay.
And whatever the pronunciation everyone else
that must be annoying for him, is he's known the world over by not how he would say his own name.
Yeah, but he spells it differently.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, so when I talk about him with my friends, I'm like, Yngve Malmsteen. And then Yngwie.
Yngwie. Or whatever. I can't even say it now.
So,
but, I mean,
so
okay.
Yngwie, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry for butchering your name.
But yes, of course, that whole Rising Force sort of era. Yeah, I mean, that was interesting. See, I find that I see more of a connection there then, because of course, if you really loved everything he was playing, it wouldn't just be pure metal. There would be a greater appreciation for sort of some of the more sort of neoclassical kind of influences that he was bringing in. And so do you think that's a conscious? Because we'll get onto this, but you're not, you're a good sort of jazz guitar player and all that kind of stuff. Do you think it enabled you to not just be about learning, super fast legato licks?
Yeah, I mean, I was always drawn to players who could improvise, and not just technical players who could perform their solos like an etude, but actual improvisers like Yngwie. So, yeah, I was just drawn to that, and when I discovered him, that was like when I understood that certain guitar players stood out from, because all these bands that I'm mentioning have great guitar playing, but then you have someone like Yngwie or Gary Moore at the time. A little bit later, I got into David Gilmour, who's also, I think he's an improviser.
Yeah, I think all
some of his solos, I think he plays them.
The only guy of that, like sort of super guitar hero that I know is well documented for saying he hates improvising is Brian May.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently he just, all of the solos are highly structured, put together. It's not just, he's just not.
Yeah, I mean, they sound like compositions, but
yeah.
But some people who improvise makes it sound like a composition also.
This is true. I'm always interested, obviously the sort of everybody from Scandinavia has a real rich history in sort of their own genre of kind of metal.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go from, the kind of much more perhaps commercial kind of metal that maybe would have been around in the 80s to sort of, what was your first introduction into some of the darker stuff that maybe shaped where you decided to go with Scar Symmetry and that sort of thing?
I think pretty early on when I started listening to metal, I got into Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had some albums out at that time, the mid-80s. So, and that felt extreme for that time compared to some of the other things I was listening to, like Iron Maiden. But then, like by the early 90s, like the big Swedish death metal movement happened, and another one in Florida. Right. Which I was super interested in at the time. Didn't have a lot of improvised guitar solos, but
so you're talking about. So do you think your sort of formative years as a guitar player things were really changing a lot round about the sort of as you went sort of 18, 20 years old, and that sort of darker metal scene kind of started to happen? So I suppose it's great timing because you're old enough then to start going and seeing a few gigs and following a few bands. And
yeah, absolutely. And it was an interesting era to be a part of, and obviously that was the time when I was practicing the most and making the most progress and maturing as a musician. So it was like the end of the glam and hair metal era and the start of like grunge and death metal and even things like some proggier metal like Dream Theater came onto the scene and some of the extreme metal bands turned like progressive, like Meshuggah, Fear Factory had some cool elements. So and I just loved it all. I just loved it all, and things were just going in all kinds of directions.
So was there a moment, by the time you were 18 or 20, had you already gone, I'm just going to be a professional guitar player, or was that later in your life?
I don't think I thought about it too much because I didn't have a roadmap to how it was going to happen, and also when I was like 19, I think I had to stop playing for a few months because I practiced so much.
An injury.
Like every hour of the day I was playing guitar, which is kind of silly, like thinking back about it. But I was so just so like tunnel vision about guitar. So that kind of threw me off a little bit, and then I got back into playing, and I played for a few more years, still without having a clue as to if I could make it into a career of any form. And then I hurt my arms again.
Oh wow!
Stupid enough. I just played too much.
Again.
Yeah. Wow. So and at this point I was like 23, and I had to stop for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, like in my mid-20s.
Surgery and everything, or just
no surgery. Like I saw some doctors, but they were like, "We don't think you're a candidate. It's just like too much risk." And
so, what's going through your head at this point? Is this like, "Oh, I wish I'd studied harder at school because maybe I'm going to need a different job here"? Or?
I didn't even think about it like that. It was kind of heartbreaking because music is like the one thing that I love the most, you know. And I was robbed of that. So and I just had to when I realized after a few months that this is not gonna this looks like it can be like a more drawn out kind of deal. I just had to make peace with it. And I weirdly enough it felt like I woke up one morning and just like nope, that's it. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be depressed about this anymore. It's just what it is. Like bad stuff happens to people every day, and they just have to pick themselves up and carry on. So that's what I did, and I went back to school and studied, got my grades up so I can go to the university, and I started studying engineering physics, and I still didn't have like a roadmap to where that would lead me. I just found something else that I was good at, and I seemed to be doing well with math and physics and stuff. That came kind of like easy to me. So, all right, I suppose maybe I'll be an engineer, and that might be a good salary at some point. But I dropped out after a while because I didn't find myself in it. And then eventually, like the consistent pain that I had in my arms just started to fade. I don't really know why, but I could slowly start playing guitar again, like 2 minutes, and the arms didn't kill me. The next day, 3 minutes,
God, that must have been nerve-wracking for the first 6 months or so of that, going, oh no, is it going to come back?
Yeah.
I can't. On that front, I mean, I know lots of guitar players who, nobody that's had to do 4 years off, but lots of guitar players that have had to take an extended break because they do just overdo it.
Yeah.
Is there something now that you're very conscious of, or that you wish, if you could go back to when you were 21, 22, that you could go back to yourself and say, look, if you'd have just done this stretching exercise or this warm-up routine, or if you'd have just known as soon as you feel the first sign of something, just stop. I'm only just for anyone watching to sort of go, look, there are some things that you could do to have avoided that.
Well, one thing that I noticed was that when I started playing again, I mean, it was a bit rusty, like technique-wise, and it took me a little bit of time to get my chops back up. But other than that, like the level of musicianship and my knowledge of the fretboard even, everything had skyrocketed through those years because I never stopped thinking about music.
Right.
I mean, I'd spent, 13 years like thinking about the guitar every hour of the day.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop thinking about music and the guitars. It just kept happening, and I built vocabulary just by thinking of it. So I was a much better guitar player when I started again, which is super interesting to me. So
I wonder if that's just whether the brain, if you're that passionate about it, whether I'm sure there are instances. It's a bit like the scientific experiments where they deprive people of all the senses, just put them in a white room with no noise, no sound, and then the brain starts to sort of goes into like an overstimulus kind of thing, isn't it? I wonder if you're just sort of the fact that you couldn't play it, you think about it even more. But I'm thinking more about what could you have done to prevent the injury, maybe in the first.
Probably played less.
Just play less. Yeah. You think that would have been a?
Yeah. I mean, you don't. You don't hit the gym and lift for 5 hours without a break. So
I suppose there are people probably who do. That's what it. They know that something's hurting in here, but it's like no, must finish the reps. It's like no.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as it starts to hurt, put the guitar down. What was it? Was it muscles in here that you were hurting?
Yeah, on this side.
On this, yeah. Interesting. So, look, be careful. It is very,
but
very
ever
common.
since I started again, I don't really play more than I need to. So during a week, I might not even play every day. I usually play something, but there can be days when I don't play, and I never play 8 hours anymore.
No, I mean that is a lot. I don't think anyone would. But I know what you mean. Loads and loads of people when they're in their teens now.
I never practice anymore, and I haven't since I was like 28. Then I came back from the injuries.
But then, what do you call practice? Because you obviously play a lot, or I mean, it's not like you only play if you're doing a performance or something, right? So practice to you would have been get the metronome out, repeat a pattern over and over and over again, is that type thing?
No, but like one way could be to like practice improvising, and I guess practicing is a mindset where you're working on things, and you're like making you have a problem and you tear it down to smaller parts that you can practice on, and I rarely do that. So when I pick up the guitar, just like what I just played, I'm just improvising something. Yeah. So I'm more playing for my own amusement and making up melodies, and so it's not. It's more like I'm improvising and performing than practicing something.
We'll talk about Strandberg a bit more detail, but as we're talking about the injury, was there a sense that part of the appeal of the Strandberg was that it was unlikely to exacerbate an injury again, just because of the way it sort of forces you to play and your wrist position, or was that not really part of your thinking?
Not when I started playing Strandberg. That wasn't really my concern.
It's been like just an added bonus of playing it. Fine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are things about it that is like obviously ergonomically helpful, that is more lightweight and things like that. But
so let's go back. So you're 28 years old. You've just studied mechanical engineering. You could have had this amazingly successful mechanical engineering career, probably earned 5 times what you've ever earned as a guitar player. But
at least.
At least. But you've sort of gone, no. I've got to scratch this musical itch that I've got, which is obviously what I love about musicians. They're all that's it. That has to be done, right? There's no choice. So how much after, at what point again when was your first kind of big break as a player then? Your big sort of lucky break that made you think, oh wow, this could actually be a full-time job now.
I'm not even sure, because it's been a super slow build, and when I'm thinking back of being 28 and being able to start playing again and like playing in some local bands and stuff, and at that time, not even being 30 yet, and here we are, like, have turned 50 a little while ago.
I know.
And I thought that, like, at that point, like, I was kind of old. I thought so. Maybe I was too old to have like a career as an artist. I had no idea. I was not really aiming for it. I was just super happy to play guitar, to be able to write songs and play with my friends, and then we formed Scar Symmetry, which is still my main band, and like we did a demo and we got a record deal and put out one album. Then we were picked up by a much bigger record company, and they put our video on MTV's Headbangers Ball.
Oh, amazing.
Back in the day when that was a thing, and they played us like every Sunday night for a bit. So I guess that was the first time I felt like I got noticed outside of my hometown.
We're going back now 20 odd years, something like that. So tell me, like, what was the first decent tour that Scar Symmetry did, and were you like a kid in a candy shop going, oh my god, I can have this amplifier and these guitars, and just like what was the rig, what was it like?
I was never picky about amps, and not really about guitars either. I mean there were certain things like I've always been a fan of, like the more like kind of super Strat that I used to play Ibanez, and the Strandberg is kind of like that, but just less of it. So that I would never been happy playing a Les Paul, for example.
Right.
So, and a Strat doesn't have humbuckers. So if I had like a nice Ibanez at the time, I'd be happy. And then whatever amp has nice distortion without.
Were you like a 5150 guy, or does it almost
something like that? Yeah,
didn't really matter to you.
Yeah, and if I could have like a delay pedal in the loop for the leads, I'd be over the moon.
I'm really surprised about, especially as I think I mean, some of the proggier stuff feels like there's so much effort gone into layering guitar sounds and getting. But was that something that you just, I don't know, you just didn't feel the need to do?
I kind of got into modelers early on.
Fine. So there's already a digital alternative.
Like even when in my early 20s, when Zoom had their the half
the
rack.
9050.
Yeah. So I had that one, and I had the tape Porta Studio.
I thought all the digital native guys were all in their 20s, but you're saying there are people in their 50s who are still digitally native. Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm sorry to cut across you. So we have to, I'm fascinated here because obviously this is bringing back memories. I remember, I might be just pulling my slightly older than you rank here, but do you remember the Zoom thing that went on the strap, the 9002?
Sure, yeah.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
I don't think I've ever tried it though.
In Andertons,
mm-hmm.
So we're going back to the early 90s, right? Maybe even 1990, I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a little shop with like 5 guys. We all worked in there. And on a Saturday, one of us would just, I say one of us, it was never me, there'd be like one of the good guitar players that played there, would stand in the shop with his Zoom 9002. If you go and have to Google Zoom 9002. It was like a revolution. You'd never seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guitar effects unit that went on your strap and you plugged it. And he would sit and he would play Jump by Van Halen like all day or something like, or some really cheesy sort of rock tunes like that. And I'm not kidding you. Customers would just come into the store and go, what's he got? And he'd be like, Zoom 9002 like that. How much is that? It's £349, which in today's money is probably at least 1,500, maybe more, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they go, I'll take one. And you just had this big pile of them, basically, just like, it was unbelievable. And then maybe 5 or 10 years ago, somebody had a second-hand one that we bought in like that. And I plugged it in and I just thought, wow, it's the worst thing I've ever heard. And yet, in 1990, it was just like, they were just selling like crazy. But anyway, so you had the 9050, which came maybe 5 years after 9002, but it was still that real classic Zoom, over-processed, heavy overdriven, kind of classic digital sound of that era, I suppose.
Yeah.
But so, and then from then, tell me on your digital journey, where did you go?
What else did I play? I
must have had Line 6 pods, surely, for a while.
No, not really.
No?
That was like way later. So before my injuries, I remember playing a Rocktron Chameleon.
Yes.
That was Rocktron, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rocktron.
And they had some other
Did you do the
device.
ADA thing? ADA preamp?
No. Yeah.
What was the really super expensive boogie one that people like John Petrucci would have? Triaxis. Did you ever do that?
I tried one, but I never had one. And the Chameleon, I didn't even own it. That was like the bass player of a band I played in. That lent it to me, so we used that in the studio. And then
Alesis, what was it? Quadriverb GT. They did the one like the guitar. No,
Mm-hmm.
see, look, it's taking me back now to all my days on the shop floor selling all this stuff.
Yeah.
So sorry, go on. You tell me. I'll stop interrupting. Your digital journey. Go on.
So when I got back from my injuries, and I didn't even have an amp, I had just sold things. When I started playing again, I had to pick up my guitars from the pawn shop.
Right.
So basically, that's what it was. And so I didn't have an amp. So I played with a band like Scar Symmetry, and I just borrowed the drummer's guitar amp, whatever that was, and we were recording an album, and I wanted to record the leads at home because I was still feeling the injuries a little bit. So I didn't want to spend like full days in a studio playing. I wanted to be able to schedule it myself and record at home. So I needed something to record with, and this is kind of, I guess there were plugins at this time as well, but I think like the hardware was still better developed, and I went to the music store and I couldn't afford a pod. Mm-hmm. That was just too much. So the guy in the store, he was like, check out this one out instead. And it was the V amp, and it was like half the price. And he was like, it's basically the same. It's the same quality. And I was like,
Amazing.
all right, I'll try it. And I mean, it had some useful sounds, but for the tone I wanted, there was like one amp and one cab. That was...
So this is early Scar Symmetry days or before this?
Before this, but I
Fine.
used the V amp on the first two Scar Symmetry albums.
This is what I want to know. So there's a song that I can go and listen to on Apple Music from Scar Symmetry where the guitar sound is a Behringer V amp.
Yeah, the lead tones.
Does it? And presumably it sounds good, right?
Yeah, people still like write to me and like, well, what did you use for your tones on Pitch Black Progress? And I'm like, oh, it's a V amp. And they're like, I just love your sound. And
if ever you needed more proof that tone is in the fingers, not in the gear.
But I mean, when I listen to those recordings, I think the lead sound is like horrible.
Okay.
And it's like it's nasty. But it's everything else in the mix sounds nice and
what would you play live with though if you were because this, I mean, I do remember things like the Pod, for example. I kind of listen back now and I go, it's not as good as I remember it sounding. But I've got recordings that friends of mine did that is all Pod, and they'd layer up 3 or 4 tracks on top of each other, and there's some brilliant guitar sounds still from.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, what would you have, in terms of live, if you're playing a rock festival or whatever like that, what would you have had in those early Scar Symmetry days? Would it have been
whatever
traditional? Just would have
the
been
rental
backline,
right. That they had.
And like did you have like a go-to pedal that you knew if you plugged into that amplifier it would be okay?
No. I just used the amp distortion. After a while, I started bringing a little noise suppressor, and I had the Behringer, the knockoff.
I love this. I mean, I love the fact that. I love the fact now that we seem in 2026 now to be incapable of doing a gig unless I've got some highly authentic, highly programmed, 20 different presets to, and yet 30 years ago it was like, as long as the amp basically worked,
yeah,
I just used that for the whole gig. It's just weird about how it's just.
But we did one show when I showed up hoping for a 5150 or something like that, and it was like a ECM 800.
Right.
And I didn't have any boost pedal or so. I didn't quite get the sustain I wanted.
They gave you a Fender Twin, and it was just like, there you go.
Well, I don't think this was all that much better. so that was a horrible experience. After that, I started bringing a tube screamer or something.
And that, I think, that was for many years, that was the savior, wasn't it, of the sort of particularly the festival kind of guitar player. It was like, look, it's rented backline. There's no time for sound check or what. You're just going on. You do your 5 songs and and it was like people would just go. This is before quad Cortex and IRs and all that kind of stuff. People would go, yeah, as long as I've got my MXR or my Ibanez whatever, then so Tube Screamer was basically, as long as the amp's got a little bit of overdrive, Tube Screamer in the front.
Yeah.
Happy days. Do you ever miss that?
No, I'm never really thinking about it. I just remembered we did one tour when I had a Metal Zone as the pedal, and which is like an unfairly maligned pedal.
Totally agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
The problem with the Metal Zone is not the pedal itself. It's all the army of people that scoop all the mid-range out of it and then make it sound like a bee in a jam jar. But that's amazing. And you don't. I sometimes find if I've got tons of options, either on the amplifier or at my feet, or whatever, like my brain can't just be present about, look, just play. Like I'm always going, it's got too much reverb or not enough reverb, and sometimes I sort of miss the idea of going, the amp only makes one noise. I just need to do the best that I can. I wondered if that's what I meant by, do you miss that sort of simpler, or do you embrace all of the technology?
I do embrace it, but I also love it when I have dialed in a sound on the unit and I can just leave it and only change something if it really needs to be changed. So, because like when you have a million parameters that you can tweak, that gets boring fast. and when since I'm working a lot in the computer and producing music and so on. So I'm using plugins for everything, processing vocals and drums and everything. And I really like it when there's not too many options. Like you have one compressor that with one knob that works for vocals and it works 95% of the time. Yeah. That I would prefer that. So I kind of miss that a little bit in guitar plugins, even if it's super nice to have a cab section where you can just tweak everything till death.
Yeah.
If you have something where it's just one knob, that's.
I think that guitar.
I want both.
Yeah, I think that guitar cycle is pretty universal, which is there's always a trade-off between going, I know I've got a million things I can adjust here, and I'm sure I could make it perfect, but really. I just want to focus on the music and just have one knob, the make it better knob. I just want that.
Yeah, make me better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I think obviously people who are fans of yours will know about the Scar Symmetry thing, and I'm sure there'll probably be lots of questions about what gear was used on different tracks and stuff like that. But you're so the digital thing, whether it's I think you were using Helix, weren't you, before Quad Cortex, weren't you, from memory?
Yeah.
So
we're still using it live with Scar Symmetry, actually.
Fine. So still Helix live, and but we've got a Quad Cortex today. So
yeah. I'm using all the neural stuff in the studio.
Right.
It's just that we started many years using the HX Stomp for Scar Symmetry. So I own a whole bunch of units, and it's all dialed in, and
Tell me, I mean, I hope you don't get bored of people asking you this, but obviously you did your 3 or 4 years in Meshuggah as well.
Yeah.
Which, obviously is, bands in that sort of genre. Meshuggah's at the sort of the top end of how well known they are and the sort of size stuff that they're doing. What are your sort of memories of that? Was that we were talking over lunch again about just, actually sometimes the rigors of touring and being away from the family has a negative side as well. Yeah. Do you sort of, is there a little part of you going, I'd love another tour like that? Or do you sort of think, I'd hate another tour like that?
Yeah, I mean, when I toured with them, it was the first time I experienced being in a scenario with that kind of professionalism regarding also everything but the actual show, like everything else, figured out so neatly, and being able to just show up at the airport with just like my bag of clothes and everything else is taken care of, and having a guitar tech and not having to tune my guitar before the show. All of that was really nice, and playing big venues with air conditioning. Not always, but. So I kind of missed that, and obviously I was a fan of the band, and was kind of cool being a fan, experiencing the music.
It's the ultimate fan experience, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. from that place. So often I looked at the audience, and I was like feeling the thing with them. So that experience, like if I ever got the shot at playing with musicians like that as like a hired gun with for some music that I really like, that for sure that would be really cool. But I the funny thing is that by the end of it, I'm standing on stage and playing some big European festival for 20,000 people, and everyone's screaming, and it's just like a rush. But then I realized that when I'm playing these rhythm parts that I've been playing, you know, a million times at that point, and I'm thinking of like other things I want to do, like I'm like dreaming about other kinds of music.
Must get some milk on the way home.
Yeah, and that kind of thing. But actually thinking like I wish I was playing my music.
Oh, I see.
And I wish I got to improvise more and these things. So
that's the trade-off, though, right? Between, I suppose, hired gun in front of 20,000, 50,000 versus doing your own improvised.
But then
project.
I had done shows like small jazz kind of shows for 30 people, which is awesome. But when I had done that for a bit, and I'm sitting noodling, and I'm thinking like, wouldn't it be cool to play for 20,000 people? You know, so.
But you're fortunate in that, I suppose, to some degree, you can have a little bit of everything if you want it. You know, but within reason. You know, you can. I'm sure, if you wanted it, Scar Symmetry could get some decent big festivals over a summer if you wanted to, and then in the autumn you could have a wind down with you and a couple of drummer and a double bass player, and you could play in a cafe somewhere. You know, pulling some Django Reinhardt tunes out or something, whatever. Why not? So let's talk about. I'll come back to the sort of the. You like, I think, every complete guitar player in 2026 have realized that life is about multiple income streams, a little bit from writing and recording, a little bit from touring, a little bit from online stuff, a little bit from gear endorsements, etc. And I want to talk about that and your Patreon thing, but let's geek out on the gear.
Sure.
Because let's be honest with you, it's like everybody loves a chat about this, but really we're all here to go, so what pedal do I have to buy so I can sound as good as Per? You know, it's like, okay, it doesn't probably work like that, but you never know. Apparently it's a Behringer V-amp is what you need to buy.
And a metal zone.
And a metal zone. So tell me about, let's talk about Strandberg. I was on the phone to Strandberg this morning. It's such a fascinating company. So fundamentally different about how they think about guitars than most of the guitar world. Obviously there's a Swedish connection there as well, so you're sort of repping the Swedish guitar company. But how did you first get into them, and what is it about the guitar, and particularly on your signature model, that you just think is perfect for you?
So I was introduced to Ola Strandberg in 2013. It was the first year I went to NAMM. I smashed my piggy bank and felt like I need to go there to see what's going to happen. I was just at the end of the endorsement deal I had with Ibanez. They treated me well for many years, but I was interested in starting dating other guitars. so I was introduced to Ola, and I got to play his guitars, and at that point he was like building them himself out of his garage, and I was super intrigued because it's just like such a different take on many of the things, what with the neck profile that is different, and the body shape, and just how it feels holding the guitar. It's lightweight and all of these things. So I was super interested in it, and then I met him a few weeks later at Musikmesse in Frankfurt, and he came and saw me play, and he was I want to build you a guitar. And you can have anything you want, and that just like what a dream come true. Like anything, sure. And I asked him to put in True Temperament frets and 27 fretboard and just crazy things. And I ended up loving the guitar. He made a production model of it and released it as my signature guitar, and then we've just been keeping at it for all the years since.
What was that first moment that you played a Strandberg guitar, and prior to that, presumably everything you'd ever played would have had a traditional kind of sort of, you know, rounded back of the neck, and it would have had the sort of weight balance of a guitar with a headstock and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know whether you had a Floyd Rose on your Ibanez or whatever you had.
Yeah.
But and fun enough, this is the conversation I was having with the Strandberg guy this morning. You can't understand the Strandberg thing until you've played one.
Yeah.
And then either you get it or you either like it or you don't like it, but you can't really, I can't describe it to you. You have to try it. So what can you, what was it that you instantly went, okay, this is different and I like it? What was that?
I suppose a mix of things. I really like the balance of not having the headstock. At first I was a little bit like, why don't you have a headstock, even if it's just like for show?
Yeah.
You know, or could you make like a prosthetic you can put on?
It's funny you say that. I don't know what I'm allowed to give away, but it is funny you say that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I know.
Yeah, but the were you always quite a classically positioned, like, you know, thumb around the back of the neck, or did you have kind of like that sort of thumb round the side sort of habit? And how did the Endura neck change that for you?
Well, first like with the Endura neck that is on all the Strandberg guitars aside from mine.
Right.
Actually, there were things about it that I loved and things that I didn't love.
I've obviously shown a total. But they say you've got kind of the Endura.
Yeah.
But it's like a softened version of the Endura. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I tried the regular Endura neck, and then the second prototype we did was just a C, like a thin C neck, and I thought that was what I wanted then, because I didn't find myself in the Endura neck. But then I was like, I'm missing something from the Strandberg experience. So actually they made a version that it's slightly rounded off.
Yeah.
So it's still like the basic shape, but it's rounded off and it's slightly thinner.
I mean, it's that's really, I've never really, I should pay more attention, shouldn't I? But that, I mean, it's more like it's 60% Endura, 40% not, isn't it? It's more Endura than not. Yeah. But I see, because that's really interesting.
So to me, it's incredibly comfortable to play.
And do you love the fact that it kind of, because I find with what I like about the Endura neck is it kind of forces, not in an uncomfortable way, but it forces a thumb position that really feels sort of the right, make sure you can feel that the way that your wrist is changing its position as you move up and down the fretboard.
I mean, that's the idea of it, and that works for a lot of people. But the way I'm playing, I'll show the camera a lot of the times, when I'm playing things, I'm keeping my thumb up here. Then I'm moving down. I need to move it down here.
Yeah.
And those moves can be pretty like rapid, the way I play. So I've kind of found my thumb a little bit hindered by that. Other people love it.
Yeah.
And I just you need to tone it down a little bit so I can move around. And now it's super comfy.
And the True Temperament frets, which obviously aren't on this model, but were on the previous one, is that something where, what was the thinking behind going back to a conventional fret? It just made the production easier, or you just found that?
It's a little bit of everything. It's like opening up the guitar with my neck profile and like the sound and my pickups and everything, but for an audience who don't care about True Temperament.
Yeah.
And it makes the guitar like a lot cheaper.
Yeah. True Temperament, if you're not sure, if you ever see a fret that looks like someone's kind of, I don't know, with a very shaky hand has kind of drawn a fret, it's the sort of but what it's doing is it's compensating for all the sort of intonation imperfections that a stringed instrument would normally have. So it should be the most perfect wherever you play on the neck. But I find it off-putting just visually. I sort of look at it and go, I don't know if I like the look of that.
Yeah.
I know when I tried it once, I just assumed that bends and vibrato just couldn't work on a true temperament fret, but it's not true, is it? It's just sort of a bit, it's a bit weird.
That's not a concern.
No.
But I think people who want for a guitar to look traditional, you know, they want to have a headstock and they want to have straight frets and they don't want to have a multi-scale. And this one has this multi-scale and no headstock.
Yeah.
So for me, in the context of this, it doesn't look weird at all to have those.
I think multi-scale actually is probably one of the best inventions in the guitar, you know, of recent years, because the idea of just making the you know, enabling you to have a more drop-tuned, heavier string down at the lower end and still have that string tension in it is just it's super important.
And the more strings you have, the
you're
more
a 7. You got
sense
7
makes.
now.
Yeah.
Is that did you have 7 on the old Ibanez, or did you go from?
I had 7.
So you've always been a, and is that?
And with Meshuggah we played 8 strings, of course.
Do you? Actually, that's not fair because I know you do, but it always makes me laugh how many people buy an 8-string guitar to go super low and then only ever play the 4 thickest strings or whatever. You go, you know, you could just have a 6-string and tune down if you want.
Yeah.
But you cover the whole fretboard, right? You love to, you know, all 7 strings. So what's your, when you're looking at the fretboard, what are you seeing in terms of are you just seeing a map of notes as opposed to chord shapes and things like that?
I guess both.
Mm-hmm. But when you mentioned some of the things you like to do at a clinic is just, you know, shout out, give me a Lydian dominant chord, whatever, and I'll play. Is that's just how you're just seeing patterns and notes, and your brain is going, yeah, this is the language I need to speak here, and it doesn't matter whether you've got 6, 7, 8 strings. It's all just
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I just set this sound up so I can do this. I'm gonna grab a Lydian dominant chord because you said it.
Let's do it.
And this chord hurts. And I like to move around a lot. Like a lot of players, they learn scales like in a position. But I prefer to do like. Like that. So I kind of tend to see things like on this axis instead of that way.
I know. So you're doing that amazing thing of just kind of hiding the plectrum and then bringing the plectrum back when you need it.
Yeah.
But I
cannot do that like on command. You cannot ask me to show you how I do it because then I'm going to drop the pick.
I just think if you're, are you sort of leaning into perhaps a style of music there that you perhaps wouldn't traditionally use within Scar Symmetry, that sort of, or is that a more of a Per Nilsson kind of solo project jazzy thing, or actually are you using a finger sort of picking technique in the Scar Symmetry stuff as well?
I didn't used to. I used to be more
aggressive,
playing with the pick in my leads. I mean, all the riffs.
Yeah.
You must play with the pick, but it's just something I started doing because like you play with a pick and that's one kind of a sound. Even you can pick more soft, but when you hit it with your fingers, it's just lovely. And it's something that I started doing more and more in my leads and when improvising and actually when I played with Meshuggah, where like the pick is a must for all the rhythm playing, but as soon as I played the solos and those solos I improvised all of them, it just felt so natural to just to go with the fingers. And I think it fitted that style as well.
How are you with your right hand? If you need, have you got a technique either with your thumb or something like that to get that sort of brightness and that attack on the note, or if you need that, will you always revert to a pick?
I guess I prefer things to be smooth and not so trebly and stuff. But another cool thing you do with your fingers is you can give the notes like a fair amount of snap.
So it is almost like you're sort of pulling the string away with your finger, getting like a slap.
And you can't really do that with a pick. You can do things like that.
I wish I'd
fun.
spent more time. I mean, I can't even really hybrid pick, to be honest with you. It's just I'm very much reliant on a sort of a pick, or I can play just fingers, but I really feel it limits what I can do. And yet, tonally, when I hear guitar players, I just love listen to sort of the Jeff Becks and the Mark Knopflers and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just like there is an extra layer of dynamics, I think, if you can just learn to play with your fingers rather than a pick. I never really seen it translated into, with this much gain and more of the sort of the proggy kind of metal thing. I think that genre, I'm sort of tuned to hearing that more aggressive kind of down-picked type vibe with it. But
I love Mark Knopfler.
Yeah, unbelievable guitar player, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've just to finish off on the Strandberg, you've done some signature pickups as well, did I hear you say there?
Yeah.
Who did you...
Lundgren.
Ah, yes, I met those guys, I think, at NAMM. Is that another Swedish company?
It is. Out of
like a Swedish mafia thing.
Jönköping, Sweden, yeah. Johan Lundgren is phenomenal guy.
And what was the mission with these? What were you trying to...
Well, what happened was that in December 2016, I get a text out of nowhere, and it's Thomas from Meshuggah. Hey man, and I didn't know anyone in the band, but so it's like just cold texting me. Could you do a tour with us? And I was like, holy shit! So I'm calling Ola Strandberg up. Like, can you sort me out with an 8-string? And I had one in the mail the next day. But then he started working on prototyping an 8-string model for me. And he asked, what kind of pickups do you want? And Meshuggah was playing Lundgrens. They have like their unofficial signature pickup, the M series, the M8. So I just figured put one of those in the guitar, and then I'll be in the ballpark with the sound. And that worked for that gig. But whenever I played leads, I was like, oh, this is not really getting all the way for me. So I told Johan about it and had him suggest what to do, and he took one of his designs, a pickup called the Modern Vintage. He gave it a little tweak. He changed the wire to some other kind of wire. I don't really know what pickups are made of, but I trust him. So we put that in the guitar, call it the Modern Vintage Custom, and had it in the guitar for a few years, and I'm really super happy with the pickup. Then he made some other little tweak to it, and then I asked him, does this sound like the Modern Vintage at all? And no, not really. Isn't it strange that we call it the Modern Vintage Custom? Couldn't it be its own thing? And we brand it. It's called The Anomaly, which is the name of the most popular Scar Symmetry song ever.
Right.
And put it out like that, and I can have another like signature gear thing.
I mean, that's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. No. So the Strandberg thing, like I said before, it's the only guitar I think on the market at the moment where you have to just go and try one, right? And it'll either blow your mind and change your whole perspective about playing guitar, or you won't like it. But at least you tried it. But so very, very cool. There's probably not a lot that we can say about Quad Cortex or Helix for that matter, but especially Quad Cortex that hasn't already been said. It's become the go-to sort of option for many, if not the majority of kind of touring guitar players now. Is there anything you can say that you particularly like about it? Maybe anything important that you found different perhaps with the Quad Cortex compared to Helix that you're using when you're with Scar Symmetry, or do you just find everything, just as long as you can dive in and find your thing, you'll get a good sound?
Well, the main thing that is different with the Cortex from the HX Stomps that I've been using for a long time. I started using them because they were small, so it fit the bill.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was nothing else that was that kind of small with that kind of sound. But obviously it's lacking in processing power if you want to do dual paths and stuff. And then the QC came out, and I got a unit, and I haven't really used it for a long time. It's quite recent that I actually started using it. But I've been super impressed by Neural DSP's software, and it's like basically 99% of the stuff that I'm using in my DAW. So now I've been excited to start using the physical unit as well. I'm actually for my lead sound here, I'm using the Pliny amp, which is what I used for my latest Scar Symmetry album and the solo songs I put out. So it's super cool to have that in the floor unit as well. And like the thing that I showed you, and I'm doing a masterclass in here in Guildford tonight. And this is a thing that is going to be super hard to replicate with an amp setup that I can lay down a change to another sound. That's just super neat.
Funnily enough, that was, and I know you were on Rick Beato's channel recently. Congratulations for that as well, because only the most famous people go on Rick's channel.
Apparently not.
But I remember in his earlier days where he was doing a bit more teaching, he would use a freeze pedal. So most of us are all sort of using loopers, right, and going, here's a loop like that. But he'd do a freeze pedal, and he'd kind of go, right, practice this arpeggio or these scales or this, over that. So not dissimilar to that. And it reminded me, it's a very, very effective way, I think, of kind of really learning different modes and scales that work over a certain chord. And it's a great sort of super haunting sound, isn't it? I like it.
Yeah.
Also interesting, isn't it, how as the world, Helix and a lot of those kind of products went, oh no, what guitar players want are bigger boards with more expression pedals and bigger screens, and Neural have gone, have something smaller. And it always amazes me that you've got bands that are going around with articulated lorries full of gear, and yet the guitar players go, no, I just want this little thing like this. But they're doing super, super well, aren't they? When it's a killer sounding unit.
I actually don't have a QC Mini yet, but
is that? Do you want me to? Ryan, are you watching? Per doesn't have a QC Mini yet. Just
what's
saying.
going on with that? No, but at some point I'm going to upgrade the Scar Symmetry setup to include those. And I was super happy when they launched the QC Mini.
Yeah.
And you read the comments online, like a lot of people happy, but there's always the people like, why didn't you make it twice the size?
Yeah, I'm really surprised they've never done a rack one with like a super, massively full-featured kind of separate board for it. But you know what? I haven't yet met like a pro touring guitar player that's actually gone, that's what I want. That every single person goes, no, give me the tiniest thing. It's like, that's all I want. Because I think, like you say, it's all MIDI anyway. It's like,
we control everything with MIDI with the band. So the smaller I can have it, the happier I'm gonna be. Because like every little like kilo we can save when flying is money back in my pocket,
Amen. Let's finish this. We'll talk about your Patreon thing. You are obviously for years before you did the Patreon thing, you were well known for being having your own tuition material and courses and things like that. But now there's a way for people to kind of get more from that, including some sort of personal, one-to-one if they want it. So tell me a little bit about how long you've been doing the Patreon and what people get if they sign up to that.
Yeah, I'm coming up on 2 years of doing it, and I started doing it around the time when I decided to go easier on touring. That we talked about this in private, having a family and these things. It's so I needed something else to do with my time, and also fill, the gap that it makes with income. So I just started it, and I had this kind of longing to create more of a community than the one that I get on the social medias, which is also cool. But I wanted something that was more around what I do. So I started it, and I was surprised what happened. Like the biggest thing for me that happened when starting it, and this was when I had like 20 members, was that every day when I wake up and put a cup of coffee on my desk and turn on, things, and I have an audience waiting.
Oh wow!
I have people that are like
I suppose they're online, right? And it's just waiting to see what you say.
But like the feeling that they are like they pay their monthly subscription fee and they are eager to see what I post and so on. I just found that very, very motivating in many ways, and now it's grown into quite a community after 2 years, and it's like transcriptions of my Scar Symmetry music and guest solos I've done. There's different workouts, fretboard workouts, and I do live sessions. I do like Zoom sessions, so people can like hang out and talk to me, and we listen to music. I recently I did a live session where we talked about modulations, songs that modulate and move to other keys. So we listened to like 15 of the best songs from the 80s that modulate, and it's just a lot of fun.
I think this is I love that now that because I think that from the era that we grew up in, the sort of guitar heroes they were up on a pedestal, and it was just like if you loved Mark Knopfler or you loved Slash or you loved whoever you loved, there was like no interaction. It's just not possible, right? Whereas now I kind of feel like, particularly through things like Patreon, you can there's a lot more to get out of these people, and you've got something to give, and there's lots of people that want to learn, so it's a good matchup. So anyway, look, we'll put a link to get to Per's website below, and you can go and check that out if you'd like to. Like you say, we've got a masterclass tonight, so better get a move on for that. Would you mind kind of just giving us a bit of a play out? We've got a setup today. You're saying that live, you're almost exclusively just in ear and have been for a long, long time, and it's almost kind of like you can't even remember what it's like to have a amp on stage. In the studio here, we've kind of tried to rig up something which is a bit hybrid. So we've got the quad Cortex coming out of the two Genelec 8050s that we have here, which sounds great. And then we're supplementing that with my which I love to do, which is just a real guitar cab through a sort of separate power amplifier. So kind of you've got the sort of the definition and the stereo spread coming from the Genelecs, and you've got a little bit more of like...
It sounds really 3D where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
Because I have things from the sides and from the back.
So, and it's not loud in here at all, is it?
No,
it's just like...
it's quite lovely.
Yeah. But, so I don't know what we'll replicate. We can't upload into YouTube in 3D, but we'll probably upload.
Are you mixing this in Atmos?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you do that in YouTube? Can you do Dolby Atmos on YouTube? No, you can't do that. Oh, fair enough. Not this year. Maybe soon. So yeah, what you'll hear what you've been hearing every time Per's played is kind of a little bit of supplemented real guitar cab as well. But look, if you wouldn't mind, just again have a little noodle, take us out.
Sure.
I appreciate.
What key?
What key?
You get to decide.
B sharp? No.
B sharp. I love it.
Whatever. I don't know. What's the most proggy key that there is?
I don't know. B sharp sounds kind of proggy.
Pretty proggy.
It's like not a guitar friendly key, right? But it's nice. And I can modulate.
Tremendous.
Cheers, man.
See you later. You can keep this rolling if you want to, Tay. But obviously, I just said B sharp as a joke. Is B sharp not just C? Or is it actually a different
Oh, you
scale?
said B sharp?
Yeah.
I thought you said B flat.
I was thinking to myself, I was thinking, oh my God, I said B sharp, as in thinking, obviously, so, and then you started going, yeah, okay, like that. I was thinking, oh my God, maybe there is a B sharp scale. I don't even know this thing, but there's no B, right, just, there's no B sharp scale, everybody. That was B flat.
You tricked me.